alternative fuels, but because of their status in the world, and they could locate anywhere in the world, they are able to create like-minded businesses. And you may have heard recently, and they're going to be going, they're going to be opening in June. It's called VR Labs. They actually make nutritional supplements from botanical extracts or plant derivatives, plant products. The reason that this is important is that's one example where a like-minded business has attracted VR Labs. Algenol has contracts with Valero, one of the larger oil refineries in the world, Linde Gas, one of the largest gas engineering companies in the world. They had a contract with Dow Chemical. They bring in CEOs and presidents from these other companies, and there's a synergy that's starting to develop. And VR Labs is actually restoring a building next to Algenol's building, and they use ethanol to tease out the molecular compounds in the process within which they make these nutritional supplements. So that's the kind of synergy that we're trying to develop here in this county.
Commissioner, I want to talk to you about the relationship between the Commission and the Legislature. We had Representative Matt Caldwell here on May 14th, and his claim was that the Lee County Commission's reputation was not good around the state, or at least among legislators. And obviously, we also asked him about, we hear a lot that the state legislature's reputation is not very good locally. There have been some back and forth op-eds here most recently, which appeared on May 21st. Would you address the situation? What is your perception of how the county commission is viewed, whether or not you're viewed effectively within the state, and would you like to address any of Representative Caldwell's concerns?
Sure. I think the best example I can give is that when Lee County was fighting hard to maintain local control with regards to our fertilizer ordinance, I ended up having to go to Tallahassee on several occasions to testify before several committees. The committee that I attended that Matt Caldwell was sitting on, actually he excused himself and left during the vote, in which they ended up weakening the statewide rule regarding the application of fertilizer, which clearly was even less regulatory than our own county fertilizer ordinance. I then ended up going back to a Senate committee meeting and was able to get people from both sides of the aisle, both Republicans and Democrats on that committee, to reject preempting local counties from having their fertilizer ordinance. So it just depends on what members of the legislature we're able to work with to be able to hold the legislature accountable and to respect local home rule and not to try to preempt our fertilizer ordinance or our wetlands ordinance or mining ordinance. We're constantly battling with our own legislative delegation in order to try to protect our own local interests. So I would submit that if you look at what's happened in the last couple of years with the evisceration of the State Growth Management Act, with the complete evisceration of the water management districts, not only through budget cuts, but now the legislature controls. They've politicized the funding level for water management districts that have had to eliminate scientists, planners, attorneys who have had a long history of being able to protect our critical water supplies. So yeah, we know locally what's going on here, and we resent it when the state not only meddles, but tries to actually punish local government in our effort to try to protect the public interest.
I assume I'm guessing here, but your position on single-member districts hasn't changed.
It's a good question because I readily admit I ran as a Democrat back in 1988, and one of the reasons that I ended up in 1990, after being elected in 88, registering to the Republican Party is the Democratic Party was very supportive of single-member district. The Republican Party was adamantly against it. So I've remained consistent in opposition to single-member district, even this hybrid form, with 2 at-large and 5 single-member. But somehow there seems to have been a change in the thinking of certain members of the Republican Party. I would still submit, though, that whether you're a Democrat or Republican, it doesn't provide for a representative form of government. I truly believe that if you're a commissioner that's voted on county-wide, you have to be held accountable, each and every voter in the county, and you have to look at the entire county-wide public interest, not get parochial, create fiefdoms, and get divisive. And I would submit that one argument about maybe if you're a minority, that you're going to have a difficult time getting elected, I would submit that's not the case. If you're a good, qualified, competent candidate, you can win county-wide in this county. And I think it's best to actually make sure that commissioners' feet are held to the fire and that every a member of this committee that's a registered voter can vote for all members of the county commission. Plus, I just don't think it's a good idea to increase or expand the size of county government. That's what Matt Caldwell's proposal does. It increases the county commission to 7, where it currently is 5.
Well, we are about 3 minutes away from the end of the formal interview. We want to thank you very much. I'm wondering if there are any final questions or any final statements that you might have.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all very much. I feel that with the breadth and depth of experience that I've gained, certainly not only in the 24 years as a county commissioner, but the 5 years preceding as a land planner in the county, that I pretty well know my way around with regards to issues. I'm always open to other suggestions, to other thoughts that people have. I think that's one of my hallmarks, is I've always been accessible to the people. But I feel that I've demonstrated my commitment to protect the public interest, taking on the sugar industry, taking on the phosphate industry, earlier in my term of office, taking on the development community as we were growing 26,000 residents a year and trying to protect the very reason why people move here and enjoy this environment is our precious land and water resources. I believe I've been an agent of change. From the standpoint of recognizing that we need to diversify our economy and the kind of companies that we're bringing in. I believe that I have steadfastly shown that I am a fiscal conservative. There's been a tremendous knock on county government, but I'll tell you, out of 67 counties, there are 59 other counties that have a higher millage rate than Lee County. We actually, in 2007 to 2010, ended up experiencing the most dramatic decrease in property tax collected. And yet, where our millage hasn't changed. In fact, our millage rate has been reduced some 29% over the last 10 years. So we have done more with less. We have ratcheted down with the employees. We have made sure that we provided tax relief where we could, but we were smart enough during the boom times, because I remember living in California. It was called Prop 13, the Jarvis-Gann Amendment, in which they, similar to a homestead, and we knew the bottom was going to fall out someday. Well, it has over the last 4 years, but fortunately we had a reserve that we could continue to provide the expected levels of service that this community wanted without raising the millage. And I think that says a lot in itself, yet we're still reducing operating costs where we can.
Any final words? Or no? No one asked the commissioner about baseball? Any one final question? Are you still convinced that you made the right decision to vote for the Red Sox stadium?
Oh, there's no question. And if you just give me a few
Absolutely.
minutes. This is interesting. A lot of people don't realize what really was the trigger point for me was when Frank Haskell, who has been the scorekeeper, and I've said this to some people, maybe not all of you realize this, Frank Haskell has been the scorekeeper for the Boston Red Sox since day one, when they first went to the city of Palms Park. And Frank gave me a call after we all realized that, oh my gosh, the Red Sox are being courted by Sarasota County. They may end up leaving the area. I mean, 5 grapefruit teams since 2000 have left the Florida Grapefruit League to go to the Cactus League in Arizona. We need to stop the bleeding. And Frank was the one that said, Ray, you need to understand what the Red Sox have meant to this community, specifically because he lost a daughter by the name of Barbara at an early age, and he set up, in her honor, Barbara's Friends. They're a fundraising arm for the pediatric cancer care facility, the Children's Hospital of Southwest Florida. And what Frank impressed upon me was the Red Sox have actively, through golf tournaments and silent auction fundraisers, raised over $6 million for the Children's Hospital, and specifically the pediatric cancer care facility. And I realized then they're more than just baseball. And as I looked into it more and more and recognized, you know what? We have the capacity with tourist tax money, not property tax money, just like we did with the Lee County Sports Complex, and build a new stadium for the Red Sox. Not because they're a well-heeled organization. I mean, they're a money-making organization. They're a business machine. But because we would have lost them and what they mean to this county. So with the investments of tourist tax money, our return with the Red Sox, the Twins, and amateur baseball, because we have the facilities to attract a lot of amateur baseball organizations, Roy Hobbs, Gene Cusick, Perfect Game, the collegiate baseball and softball, generate over $75 million annually to this community. 2/3 of the fans come from outside of Lee County. And I would submit this is a tremendous investment, using tourist tax money to help stimulate a tourism industry that has over 53,000 jobs, to bring in new money into our economy with the money that's spent in hotels, motels, restaurants, retail stores, attractions. And then the other point, Florida soccer. Florida Night Soccer is now calling the new JetBlue Park their home, because we designed 6 soccer fields there. And so that's going to attract in excess of several hundred teams. to compete locally with North Fort Myers, with Sanibel, with Gateway soccer organizations. So that's a whole other venue that we're bringing to this community. But finally, please keep in mind, somebody like Robert Simpson, who is a tremendous businessman, can't get season tickets at Fenway. He is a rabid Red Sox fan. He made the decision to expand Leasar. He's building the new campus right now off of Winkler. The fact is he can get season tickets at this new Fenway Park, Fenway South, here in Lee County. And being a rabid Red Sox fan, he's one of many CEOs and presidents of other corporations that, because they're competitive and they love sports, are attracted to this area because of the Red Sox, because of the Twins. So that has been a tremendous investment for our community.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. We appreciate it, and this formal part of the interview is concluded.
Thank you.